Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our November Traffic and Transportation meeting. We had a couple of things going on earlier in the month, so we had to move it back to today. Being that it's a short month with the holidays and everything going at the end of the month, we kind of had to squeeze it in where we could squeeze it in. Originally, this was a date that was selected because it was a date that the library was available. Because at the point when we were doing this, it was supposed to be an in-person meeting. So we were making all the provisions for that. Turns out we didn't have to do it in person, so we're doing it via Zoom. But that was the reason for this particular date that we chose. I'd like to welcome DOT, who is on the call. Right, I saw Keith and I saw Holly.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Do we have, is the presenter on?
Yeah, she's here.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, so, Jahira, can you help me with the rules and regulations, please?
Sure. Jade, can you share them up on the screen? Okay, so we're going to read the committee guidelines. Good evening, everyone. Chair Edgar Ramos is here. This is Bronx Community Board 7's Traffic and Transportation Committee meeting, November 7th, 2022. The committee agenda is as follows. On September 22nd, Mayor Adams issued Executive Order 210 extending the state emergency through November 22nd. Accordingly, boards are able to continue to act under the state of emergency section of the Video Conferencing Law, Chapter 56 of the laws of 2022, Part WW. This allows the board to continue remotely. Minutes and video recording will be made available on our website. If you're calling into the meeting on the conference, the controls are as follows. While joining from a landline or cell by calling the dial-up number, to hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone. *6 to mute or unmute yourself, *9 to virtually raise your hand. How we will run this meeting is as follows. The Code of Conduct for Meetings, Penalties and Actions. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and/or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in appropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, and any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee and any other assigned committee for a ban. The amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committees of the participant in the event of a repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities shall be summoned. Everyone beside the speaker or presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, the chair will inquire if committee members have any questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing that raised hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions and make brief statements on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions. By pressing the raised hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair in new business or addressed at the next meeting, granted there is time and the committee agrees on the topic. Following the questions, discussions, and public comment portion, the committee will begin their discussions after each presentation or agenda item and will conclude with the decision to vote on a recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. If there are any questions relating to the meeting software or to our process, please use the chat function or raised hand function now or contact the district manager. Thank you. Chair?
Yes, I'm sorry. All right, the attendance for this evening. Edgar Ramos to chair, present. Jahara Arias,
Jahira Arias present.
Eric Asensio,
Eric Asensio present.
Lowell Green,
Laurel Green is present.
Andrew Leosa,
Andrew Leosa, present.
Daisy Perry.
Daisy Perry, present.
All right, thank you. Being we have everyone present at the meeting, we've met quorum, so it's an official meeting. Just to get back to the agenda will be, following what we're talking now, will be the review of the minutes. If you guys can check to see if those have been sent, if those have been sent to you. The other item we have, new issues, is DOT update on the car share program. We have something here from the Fordham Bedford Lot Busters Community Garden about a street change. I'm currently in contact with TD11 to see if they're going to be able to present today, and MTA updates. Just to FYI, our next meeting will be December 1st, 2022, and the in-person location is to be determined. After that will be a discussion on our next agenda and an adjournment. Has everyone had an opportunity to read our minutes? It's currently being posted on the screen. And these are the October minutes. Does everyone agree with the minutes as they are presented?
Motion to
approve the
accept.
minutes.
I'm sorry, Eric, you said something?
Andrew, go ahead.
Okay,
Just motion to approve the minutes.
okay, thank you, Andrew.
I second that.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, Edgar Ramos, Chair. I vote to accept the minutes as presented. Jahira Arias,
Jahira Arias accepts the minutes as presented.
thank you, Jahira. Eric Asensio,
I accept the minutes as presented.
Lowell Green,
I abstain because I was not present at the meeting.
okay, copy that. Andrew Leosa,
Andrew Leosa supports the motion.
thank you. And Daisy Perry,
Daisy Perry accepts the motion, accepts the minutes.
thank you. Being we have enough votes to accept the minutes as they are presented. All right, next we have, let's go into new business. We have a presentation from DOT in reference to the car share program.
Yes, how are you?
Good evening.
I can share my screen. I will. All right, give me 1 second. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, good evening, everyone. I am Stevie Feig. I'm with the Department of Transportation. I'm here to present on the permanent car share program. And I have our car share partners, Zipcar and Get Around, with me tonight to present on their sites and respective companies. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of what car share is and the pilot program that we ran the last 2 years, and then I will turn it over to the car share companies. So just a little background, car share provides on-demand short-term access to a shared fleet of vehicles. It's typically through a membership, and you can rent the car by the hour or for the full day. DOT launched a car share pilot parking program in June of 2018. It lasted for 2 years, and we partnered with Zipcar and Enterprise. The program comprised of 230 on-street spaces and 55 municipal parking facility spaces. And within Bronx, we had 20 on-street spaces in Parkchester and 10 spaces in 3 different municipal parking facilities. So during the 2-year pilot, we averaged 24 trips per space per month, serving an average of 17 different households per available vehicle per month. Through the pilot, we saw greenhouse gas emissions and vehicles mile traveled decline 7% and 6% respectively. We also partnered with UC Berkeley and to do an evaluation of the pilot. They produced 3 detailed customer surveys, one before the pilot, one during, and one after. And through their research, they concluded for every one car share vehicle on the road, 4 personal vehicles were either not purchased or were sold. And for Community Board 7, we have 10 requested sites in total. Each site is 2 parking spaces, and they will be located on the same block face at the corner, like the picture on the left, with regulatory. And with that, I will turn it over to Tori Fishman from Zipcar.
Thanks, Stevie. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm Tori Fishman. I manage public policy and partnerships for Zipcar here in New York City. Thank you to DOT and to CB7 for arranging this meeting. I'm looking forward to giving you guys a quick briefing on our participation in the on-street program and answering any questions you might have. We've been in New York, for over 20 years. We've been partnering with New York City for 10 of those. We're the largest car sharing provider in New York State with over 2,500 vehicles, 60 different makes and models in our New York City fleet. At 600 different locations across the city. We have 190,000 members in New York City, with over 16,000 of those members here in the Bronx. In CB7, over the last year, we've had about 13 vehicles parked at 3 different locations. Those vehicles have seen upwards of 6,700 reservations for a total of over 46,000 hours driven. If you do the math on that, the average reservation is about 7 hours long, traveling a distance of about 50 miles. And what that tells us is that people are using Zipcar for purpose-driven trips. They're using it to supplement their transportation options. They're not really using it for short or medium trips that you might walk or bike or take the subway for. They're using it to go on day trips, to get out of town, to visit friends and family, to run important errands. And all of that is really a focus on us allowing New Yorkers to engage in simple, sustainable, and responsible urban living. 85% of our members in New York City do not own a car. 25% of them got rid of their car after joining Zipcar. 35% of them postponed buying or leasing a car because of their Zipcar membership. And 34% of them would buy a car if Zipcar disappeared. So if you look at 190,000 members across New York City, 34% of them have reported they'd buy a car if Zipcar left. That's a lot of personally owned vehicles that we're keeping off of city streets. It's a lot of traffic congestion we're helping to prevent, a lot of emissions and other environmental impacts that we're helping to provide benefits for the community. Our members also tend to ride public transit and live multimodal lifestyles. 70% of them currently ride transit at least 5 times a week. 95% of our members maintain public transit usage during the pandemic. And when we saw a lot of our neighbors buying cars, contributing to a lot of the traffic congestion and parking issues that we see during the pandemic, less than 5% of our members bought a car during the pandemic. We go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So Zipcar presents an easy, convenient, and affordable transportation option. If you've never used it, you sign up to become a member and you can book a car instantly, either via an app on your phone or online on your computer. They're available 24 hours a day. You can rent it for an hour, you can rent it for a day. Nationally, we find that our members save upwards of $784 a month compared to car ownership. In New York City, where everything is more expensive, we know that number is substantially higher. Each reservation includes gas. As someone who's been a Zipcar member much longer than they've been a Zipcar employee, I always found that to be a huge value add, particularly now that gas is so expensive. And getting gas when you have a rental car is always kind of a pain. When you return back after your trip, you have a parking spot waiting for you. Insurance, maintenance, roadside assistance in the unlikely event you need it are all included. And you can drive up to 180 miles per day per trip. So again, we provide an option for New Yorkers who don't have a car to allow them to have all of the benefits of owning a car without the cost and hassle of owning one. Our partnership with DOT is allowing us to expand across every corner of New York City to all 5 boroughs. We're really committed to serving each and every one of those communities. And part of the way that we help New York City is that we make a positive impact on the environment. Our members using a Zipcar results in fewer emissions. Zipcar members reduce their carbon footprint by up to 1,600 pounds per year, which is equivalent to planting an acre of forest. Our fleet gets 23% more MPG than the US average, and Zipcar members tend to drive less and carpool more, all resulting in less traffic congestion, cleaner air in our community. In the context of the program, one of the most important benefits of Zipcar and of car share generally is providing more space in our communities. Each car share vehicle on city streets takes up to 13 personally owned vehicles, allowing for more space for our community and improving quality of life therein. So looking at the sites that we have requested in this CB, there's 2 sites. You ask how we selected those sites. We have a proprietary algorithm that tracks demand, but particularly unmet demand. Every time that you or any Zipcar member opens up the app or logs in and looks for a car, whether they book it or not, that's a data point that's tracked. Most importantly, we're looking for times that people try to book a car and they can't because there's not one nearby, or the cars nearby are all taken. And that unmet demand allows us to create like a sort of heat map across the city. And we pair that with DOT siting criteria to see where we can and can't place cars to best serve the needs of New Yorkers. When we're looking for on-street locations in partnership with DOT, we're looking for locations that provide easy access, can seamlessly integrate in the neighborhood. And we have a strong bias for locations that are adjacent to existing transportation infrastructure, whether it's subway stops, bike lanes, bus stops, city bike racks, pedestrian thoroughfares. And that's really a reflection of the fact that our members tend to live multimodal lifestyles, and they're using Zipcar as a complement or supplement to their existing transportation options. It's not really used as anything that's replacing their transportation options. But most importantly, in the context of the program, when we're looking for on-street locations, we are looking to select locations that allow us to provide access to areas that we're otherwise unable to serve. And that's in this community board how we picked these 2 sites for the expansion. As part of our work with DOT, we are having equity and outreach plan. The focus here, generally speaking, is on equitable and affordable access. Through the pilot program, we have a NYCHA membership program, which allows free first-year membership and driving credits and extremely discounted membership for NYCHA residents thereafter, including discounted hourly rates on all cars parked in NYCHA locations. We work with NYCHA to provide dedicated marketing materials in, I think, 4 different languages to make sure that all residents are aware of the amenity. As part of this expansion, we're going to be working with DOT to launch a SNAP program, which will allow discounted Zipcar membership to all qualified SNAP recipients in New York City residency, which is over 1.7 million New Yorkers across 1 million households. And we find that Zipcar has a disproportionately positive impact on lower income households. 71% of lower income households say that Zipcar has improved their quality of life. So we're really excited to work with DOT to expand those benefits across the city. In order to participate in the on-street program, car share providers have to have 20% of their sites in what DOT has deemed equity zones. Our site requests have 60% of our sites in equity zones, and that's really a commitment, a tangible commitment to expanding car share across the city and to neighborhoods that lack sufficient mobility and transportation options. We'll also engage, or continue to engage in, I should say, local community partnerships. We're always looking for community partners for open street and pedestrian plaza sponsorships. If you guys have ideas for things in CB7, organizations that we can work with, I would ask that you please reach out to me after this meeting so we can, best get involved in the community. We'll also have launch events and other community events to allow people to notice about these sites and to alert them to their locations so they can use them best. And we'll be working with DOT to promote safe street and pedestrian initiatives, including Vision Zero and everything that comes with it. We'll also be engaging in support and outreach to promote awareness of the program. I know I've been going on for a while here, but just to that will include educational materials on our website, PR campaigns. We'll work with social media to advertise the program. We'll, work with local community partners such as yourselves. I'm hoping to distribute flyers, much like we do with NYCHA. And we'll do digital tests and surveys, data analysis to measure successes. If something works well, we'll double down on it. If something doesn't work, we'll roll it back. But overall here, our goal is to drive awareness, engagement, and provide equitable access. So thank you for your time. I think our friends at Get Around will present next, and I believe we'll be taking questions at the end. But thank you.
Thank you.
And now I will introduce Adrienne Moritz from Get Around.
Hi all, I'll be brief. Some of the information is similar to what Tori mentioned at Zipcar. We're the other participant in the car share program. So my name is Adrienne. I manage government partnerships, which means I get to work with cities across the country to bring car share to communities. Get Around was founded in 2009. Our goal really is to provide an affordable and accessible car share service to people who need it. The reason we were founded is because we wanted to do something with vehicles that are parked about 95% of the day, which sounds like a lot, but if you think about it, cars are truly sitting around most of the time. So we wanted to do something about that. Now we're in almost 1,000 cities, about 350 of those are in the United States. We sometimes get asked about that small, I know it's on your screen small, but that small purple country at the top is Svalbard, which is part of Norway. So we're all over the place. And since 2009, we've had about 6 million trips on our platform. Go ahead, Steve. So Get Around is quite different than a traditional rental car company. So it's free to join. There's not a membership fee. There's no monthly recurring fee. And the trips can also be booked for as little as an hour. So this is meaning you're paying and using only for what you need. This is like grocery trips, doctor's appointments, going to a meeting, places you can't access on transit. So how do you use it? You upload your driver's license and you can be ready to drive in just a few minutes. Similarly, on our mobile app or on the website, you don't have to wait for a membership card to come to the mail or anything like that. We do install technology into all of our vehicles. It's called the Get Around Connect. And what that does is allow you to remotely unlock and lock the vehicle. So you're not waiting in line for keys at a rental car counter. You're not meeting up with anyone to do some exchange. It makes it really nice and contactless. But of course, trips come with insurance and customer support. Go ahead, Stevie. I'll go over these really quickly. But really our goal is to be an equitable mobility option, really trying to fit into the transportation ecosystem, just like Tori was mentioning, right? We want to have multimodal users that use transit for some trips, they scoot for other trips, they walk, they bike, and they take car share when they need it. We really want to reduce traffic, reduce congestion at the curb. We know that's very important, and be friendly to the environment. So I'll just touch on a few of these. At the top in equitable mobility, we see we have a large percentage of people of color, lower income people, and people who are renters who don't own their homes that use Get Around. We also have similar statistics that people who don't have a car decide not to buy one if they get access to car share, which is great. And if they do have a car, we see about 10% of people decide to sell that car or donate it. And we see, if you do have a car, you use your personal car way less if you have access to car share. And then finally, not only are people sharing the car on Get Around, they're also sharing the trip. So we see a majority of our trips, people are sharing a ride, meaning there's 2 or more people in the car. And the majority of people, about 74%, don't have a car at home at all. They live in a zero car household, which is actually about the same as this community district. So a lot of people who don't own a car need to access a car for various reasons on occasion, which is why car share is important. Go ahead, Stevie. When we're looking at locations, similarly, we consider the DOT criteria that they set out for us, but also co-locating car share near other transportation options, just like Tori mentioned. We also want to be in visible locations, right? We want to be on highly trafficked streets where you can see it when you walk by. We know about 30% of people find out about car sharing as an option just from seeing the sign on the street. They see the decals on the car, and then they learn about car sharing. So it's important to us to be in visible locations. And of course, we try to be at well-lit, well-traveled intersections for safety. Go ahead, Stevie. So in your community district, what's this all mean? We've requested 8 locations. As Stevie said, there's 2 cars per location, so that's 16 vehicles or 16 parking spaces. And really, we're doing this to create another opportunity for your community district to have access to a transportation option. I'll talk a little bit more about how we're making that affordable. But as you can see, we tried to equally distribute the spaces along the community district and not only be clustered in one location. So there's quite a good geographic coverage. And that's important because we know, again, a lot of people in the community district don't have a car. Go ahead, Stevie, to the next slide. So similarly to what Tori mentioned, we also have been collaborating with DOT on, how to make this most affordable for you and everyone else in New York. So we're having a few different discounts available for car sharing. First is just you want to check out car sharing for the first time. You can get a discount for that. We also have random one-time discounts, like we're doing a discount tomorrow to help people get to polling places. So if you're transporting people to vote or you need a ride to vote yourself, we're offering a discount for things like that. We also want to partner with community organizations. So think about a food pantry that needs volunteer drivers to deliver food, or like a little league that has equipment to drop off or take people to games. We want to partner with organizations. So again, if you have recommendations, love to hear it. And then also partnering with Housing Authority to offer discounts, but on a recurring basis. So not just a one-time discount, but making sure that car share is truly affordable for everyone in the community. Of course, though, we'll be sharing materials with the DOT, with your community district, with community organizations, elected officials, individuals, developments. Have lots of partners that we want to share information with. Again, we'll also be working with DOT to collect data to really learn how this is going. We did not participate in the pilot, so we want to understand how the spaces are being used and then grow or move the locations as we need. But we'd love to work with you. So I'll stop there. If you have questions about Get Around, I'm happy to answer that. If you have questions about the program, Stevie will take those on. Thank you.
All right, I guess those are the sites that you guys have proposed?
Yes.
That sheet that came up?
These are the specific sites.
Okay. Anybody in the committee have a question?
I have 2 questions.
Go ahead, Lo.
First of all, do you have any age restrictions on the people who can rent cars?
I can go over that first. This is Adrian at Get Around. Yes, we do have an age restriction. You have to be at least 19 years of age to use Get Around. There's no cap. So you have to be as old as 19, but there's no age restriction as long as you have a driver's license, and we do have other eligibility criteria.
Okay, and my other question is, what do you do when you're bringing back a car that you've used for your specific time and the space is not available? Somebody else is parked there with a non-car sharing car.
Well, I can answer that, Stevie from DOT. Each car share company will have their own specific protocol, but more often than not, and generally it will be that the customer in the the car share car will call the respective company to let them know that the space is blocked. And that car share company will tell them to find the closest legal parking space and to let them know where it is so that the car can be moved back into the site. Also, the car share customer should file a 311 complaint as well. And those will make their way to myself and my other coworkers. And if it's a recurring problem, we will escalate it to our liaison in NYPD.
I think you're very optimistic about finding another available spot for a car to park, is my only comment. Thank you.
Edgar, Andrew has his hand up.
Yep, Andrew, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Couple things. I think you said that each space is actually 2 car lengths. Why do you need, if I heard you correctly, why do you need 2 car lengths for 1 vehicle?
Because it's
That's
2
one.
cars per site. It's 2 cars. Because that's the same program that
Putting 2 cars to each other. Okay.
Right.
Thank you for clearing that up.
So being
The other
it'll be
thing is-
additional 8 plus 2, that's 10 parking spaces. It'll be a 20 additional cars for our committee board. If I
The
got
other
that
thing
right.
is just, sometimes I think I'm wondering, like, the use of the English language. It just, I thought the city was trying to reduce the number of vehicles on the street. To me, this encourages more cars on the street. And the other thing is, it has been brought up by several members of the community, and this is public land. You don't own that. I don't own that. Anybody can park their car there. And now you, as a private company, are saying, use my language, the heck with everybody else, but we, so that we can make money, are going to have exclusive right of public land. If to understand the concept, think about a park where, you know, you decide in Central Park that you are going to have a private space, a blanket where you could put a blanket down in Strawberry Fields and charge people for it so you could make money. That's public land. How do you explain to people that what you're doing is okay? Thank you.
So I will take that, Stevie, from Department of Transportation. So this program through the pilot, it's been proven to reduce car ownership and people who are buying cars. And that's what we're hoping to do by providing an alternate mode. There are not private garages in every community. It's easier to get it on the street. And through our pilot and through our Berkeley survey, we have seen that it does help reduce car ownership. So that's what we're hoping, to provide an alternate mode, allow multiple families to use one car as opposed to every family, every household or person having their own vehicle. As to your second question, statement, it is public property that's owned by the city, and we are working with the car share companies to provide this service. We've created siting criteria so they cannot just go exactly where they want to go. We will be getting data on these sites to make sure they are being used how we had set forth. If the spaces are not being used and we're seeing that, we will be removing the sites. And if they are being used, then they'll stay. And hopefully they will be used the way they're intended for, and we can keep this program going.
Just kind of in reference to that, my biggest concern is we have some of those neighborhoods, especially Marion Avenue, where I live on Morris Avenue, where people at this point spend hours, right? Hours multiple, looking for parking. So I think if they see an open spot on the corner, you guys expecting that spot to be open when the customer gets there might be more of a wish than a hope.
Yeah, so we have had issues in the pilot with block spaces. That's why we've allowed the car share companies to mark, in addition to regulatory signage, to mark the street with car share parking only, for further visibility. And if we do, if we see that specific sites are continually blocked, we'll go from there, and either we'll move them or remove them. We'll escalate it up to NYPD. We certainly understand block spaces have been an issue and will continue to be an issue, and it's something we'll be monitoring.
Okay, Edgar, you have Eric, Chad, and then Andrew again, unless Andrew, is that your hand up from before?
Eric, go ahead.
Hi, well, this, I will get a good benefit out of this program for sure, because I don't own a car. But I have seen also, like, in the way they install the electric charging stations in the neighborhood, those spots get taken up by anybody as well. So they are constantly blocked for the car that is specifically to use them. So I'm not sure how this will be any different. I agree with Andrew that we are giving away public street to companies. When Zipcar used to be housed in garages, they will pay a parking spot to a garage, and they will house this Zipcar in different available garages throughout the neighborhood. So why is that a problem? Why is that need of a change? Right. And then my other second question is, alternate side parking, what happens to that car? Who moves that car during that time? And then are we then encouraging people to just not move their car at all?
So car share cars, the companies are responsible for cleaning their car share spaces, the 15 feet before and the 15 feet after. Because these cars will be in frequent use, they are exempt from moving on ASP, but they will be responsible for cleaning their sites. And I will be getting maintenance reports of that every week.
Okay, Chad, you had something?
Hi, good
So,
evening,
well,
everyone.
I would like, sorry,
I'm
before we
sorry.
move on. So I would like to hear why Zipcar feels the need of not using the garages any more than having them in public use. Like, why can't we have them on the Jerome parking lot or the Fordham public garages?
I think, Eric, that some of those locations are already being used, but you have certain places like Mushula Parkway. There's very few parking lots, aside from the ones that belong to the private buildings. There aren't many public lots that would make this available in those areas. I think they're trying to use the private parking spots as a way to enhance their service for those neighborhoods that'll be like transportation deserts, so to speak, with no parking lots.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate exactly what the chair said. It's not an either or proposition. This is in addition to all of that. We do partner with DOT to have cars at the Jerome Avenue lot, but these on-street locations, at least speaking on behalf of Zipcar, are, we found these will allow us to provide access to areas that we're otherwise unable to serve. Either the area doesn't have garages, or the garages don't want car share vehicles in the location because maybe they're not open 24/7, or maybe they don't like the additional foot traffic that car share brings. But all those factors, combined with the DOT siting criteria, we're hoping that these locations will allow us to bring the amenity to people that otherwise don't have access to it.
Was that the end of your questions, Eric? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because when they first started their project back in 2018, I remember seeing cars in Parkchester I mean, on where the main buildings are, right, there was parking lots available. But some of the outside adjoining areas to Park Chester, it was a parking desert. So they started taking parking spots on the street in order to expand their service. So they I guess they believe that the idea and the concept is working for them and is working for the neighborhoods and for the people that need the cars. Because there was a few spots off of like Tremont Avenue. I remember there was a spot, and it was residential areas where there really wasn't any parking lot available for them to provide their service. Chad, you had something?
Yes, hi, good evening. So I have a concern and I have a question. I'll start with the concern. I know some areas of our neighborhood have been experiencing break-ins, broken mirrors, broken glass, stolen license plates. In fact, that actually happened to a resident that I know a couple weeks back where they stole her license plates. I'm just wondering how the program will address that type of damage when it happens to any of those zip cars. But my separate question is, how can a user, like I say, if I borrow the car and I park it back, how do I absolve myself of any damage after I park the car when someone can come right behind and damage it or break something?
I can address that question from Get Around. That's a great question. So in terms of cars, damage happening to a car or a break-in happening, we can tell from your use when your trip starts and ends. So we would know that your trip had ended. What we do at Get Around is when you start a trip and when you end a trip, we ask you to take photos of the vehicle and report anything that's wrong with it. So if you reported no damage and took photos, it's really easy to do in the app. You just kind of like that is what you do at a rental car company too. You just take a snippet of the corners of the car so we can tell there's no damage. And then you say, okay, the inside is clean, I'm ready to rock and roll. Then when you return the car, it asks you similar questions. So if you have those pictures, we can confirm that you wouldn't be responsible for damage. In Get Around, I said we installed devices in the vehicles called a Get Around Connect, which helps with safety because you need the mobile app to unlock and lock the vehicle. If for some reason a car would be damaged, we would take that offline, take it out of the space while it's being repaired and replace it. We wouldn't have a car that's damaged or unfit for use out on the street.
All right, thank you. Chad, does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next you have
Barbara.
Andrew and Barbara.
Barbara, you have your hand up? I'm sorry, Andrew, did you have a second question or
I
did
do,
your
but
hand just stay up?
let Barbara go.
Yep. Thank you. Barbara?
What guarantees are there if these cars are being shared among several people that they're being well maintained, especially since they're not returned to a garage or anything, but they're just left in the street?
I can take that one first. This is Tori from Zipcar. We have operation logistical teams who go to the cars multiple times a week to clean them, to take tabs on them. If you rented a car and that you sensed there was a problem, whether it was dirty or there's a mechanical issue or damage, you would report that at the beginning of the reservation, similar to you would with Get Around. But if our team, discovers that there's any issues along those that you're referencing, the car would be taken out of service and replaced with a comparable vehicle while that car is getting any sort of routine maintenance that's required. We want to make sure that we're providing, the absolute best member experience possible. So, if we have even like an indication that there's a car with a problem, we pull it out of service for as long as necessary and, move our fleet around accordingly.
But in other words, there's no guarantee that between shares, the car is being checked. You said a couple of times a week, but that could be two.
Well, sometimes multiple people take it out in the same day. So we don't have somebody who's physically checking it every time, but our members are giving us constant real-time reports on the condition of the vehicles. And, you know, we have teams on the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that are using that information to react accordingly.
Thank
Just,
you.
just another thing, Barbara, also is technology has advanced quite a bit. I mean, I'm sure if you bought a car recently, it constantly tells you when it's time to change your oil, when you have a flat, when you have something that you need to take care of. So that information, rather than going to you, would go back to the company. So if the person may not see that the oil needs to be changed, but if the alert goes off on the car, that would go back to the company, and the company would now be aware that the car needs an oil change or is low on oil, maybe a low on a tire or something like that. So you know, technology has moved forward where that's now a possibility.
Okay, hopefully these companies have enough staff to get right to the repairs.
Definitely. And I'll add that in the unlikely, if you booked a car and in the unlikely event you got there and there was a problem, you would call our 24/7 staff and they would direct you to the closest available vehicle, you know, instantly. So your trip would experience minimal to no interruption.
Andrew? You're still muted, Andrew.
Yeah. I'm curious about the data that you are all using, where it comes from. I think you said UC Berkeley. So, I mean, they're based in California. Anyway, are there any sources that are neutral that, for example, were not paid by your company to do the research? Something that I can like access, who can really put the data out there so we could make an informed decision. And are you actually asking for our support, or is this is a done deal and you're just out of courtesy letting us know what you have already decided to do and there's nothing we can do about it anyway? Thank you.
So I can take that question. This is Stevie from DOT. So the Berkeley survey that I mentioned, and the few other reports that I'm getting the data from, that is none of that's paid. That is all factual. It is from the pilot that we ran from 2018 through 2020. And those are all online, and I will share them with Holly and Keith so he can share them with Edgar, so you can read the full reports. They have a lot of great information, especially the Berkeley survey. It was given, the Berkeley report, my apologies. There was 3 different surveys, very detailed questions, a lot of data out of that. And they have some pretty, the data and statistics that went into that, I cannot do justice repeating. So it's definitely worth a read. They have some really great information from there. As far as us coming here, it's more informational to share what the program is, the companies that are going to be in your area. We also do want to know if there are any specific sites that pose safety concerns or any valid concerns like that. We also want to be sharing that we will be, DOT, when I say we, I mean DOT will be collecting data on these sites monthly for the usage, how many families we're serving, people we're serving. And we are working through how we're going to share that and at the frequency, and at what point we'll be coming back to the board to share that with you guys as well for moving forward with the program in subsequent years.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I'm assuming, right, and this is because the reason why UC Berkeley was doing the data collection was that this project was first started in California.
Car share is actually all over in a lot of big cities and some smaller cities. I unfortunately was not involved at the point that Berkeley was doing the evaluation of the pilot, but I can certainly ask why we went with Berkeley. I don't have that answer off the top of my head, but I believe it was just sometimes we work with universities for studies, whether it's like a studio or something like that to help us with studies. But I can find out that information.
Okay. Cyril, you have a question?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see you, Edgar. I hope you're feeling well. Keith, it's always great to see you. So folks, one question I have, and one question is, are we getting both companies together to get around and Zipcar are gonna get the place in the area? Because there was 2 sales pitches, but are they both been approved to come to the community?
Well, Zipcar's already been here.
I mean, giving up the street now.
They're adding two sites, and the other car share is adding 8. So it's 10 total sites, 2 from the first one and 8 from the second. If I got your presentation correct.
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, because Zipcar was already here. It's in a couple of the municipal lots. They're just adding a couple of outside spots that they feel will better project their project out to the other community, to the rest of the community that doesn't unfortunately live near the parking lots. Okay. So I believe that's everything we have for the car share. We'd like to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your information. Hopefully the further data will, prove positive that it is something that will help people in our neighborhood, and hopefully will remove some cars from the neighborhood as it is now. Like you guys said, instead of having one unit per car, you can have 5 families that share one car, or the average, the numbers change, and will reduce the cars on the street. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your time. Just to clarify, so basically this is a done deal. Like they said, you're not looking for approval by us, you're just coming for kind of an FYI presentation, just to clarify.
Yes, correct. And if there are any sites, again, if there are any sites that you see that pose major safety concerns or any valid concerns, please let us know. If there are any sites that you would like to suggest for future rounds, again, please let us know. But yeah, this is more informational. And I will share those reports and surveys with Keith and Holly so they can share them with you guys.
Because that addition to Morris Avenue is going to be interesting, because we already have churches, we have many houses with many driveways. So I don't know where exactly you're going to get those 2 spots from. But hopefully we'll be able to share data and help each other to make it a positive program for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Edgar, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to jump off to go to another meeting, a Community Board 11 meeting.
Okay.
I'm really Holly and Kevin, who joined us from my team on this call. And if you have any other DOT questions, they'll be able to answer it.
Yeah, if you have any questions or anything, you could let me know.
Thank you for the update, Keith. Appreciate that.
Good night.
And sorry, Holly, that you have to stay.
He doesn't have to stay if you guys don't have any other questions.
If you don't have anything else, do you have anything else for me?
There are a couple of DOT questions. Actually,
So stick around. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Wednesday.
Have a good day. Be safe.
Bye.
Holly, because the next presentation that's coming up, I don't know if this was ever presented to DOT first, or if this is the initial presentation of this idea, in reference to the Ford and Bedford, the Lot Busters Community Garden.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
Who's here for that presentation?
I don't know. That's not a
Oh, no, I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Caroline.
Hey, Caroline, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna jump 1 second. Is there anything you need from me?
Yeah, I think we're gonna need some information or reference from you in reference to this proposal.
Okay.
Please. I'm sorry, go ahead, Caroline.
Yeah, hold on, let me just pull up the presentation for you guys. So like I said, my name is Caroline. I'm the new garden steward for Lot Busters Community Garden. I just started this year and I've noticed a couple of things about our location, and just wanted to suggest some a few changes that might improve the safety of the area and the accessibility to the community garden. One second. Okay, so the street that I am talking about is East 193rd from Bainbridge Avenue down to Webster. And it's basically just like a request or a suggestion to change the flow of traffic from a two-way to a one-way. So currently, the intersection of Bainbridge Avenue and East 193rd Street can be made safer with a change in flow of traffic. It's a narrow two-way street with traffic entering from Webster Avenue on the west and Bainbridge Avenue on the east. I'll pull up a map for you guys in a few, but I'm sure many of you are familiar with the area. So the street also has parking on both sides, making the small street even smaller. And I'm pretty sure it's less than 40 feet wide, which I think is one of the requirements for suggesting a street change or flow of traffic change. With the narrow space, it just leads to a lot of traffic jams as cars double park or delivery vehicles are, doing their job and park momentarily, but still it's very easy for a bottleneck to occur. In addition to that, because of the way that the street is set up and the flow of traffic is, I often see cars performing like very sharp, dangerous, fast U-turns at the intersection to kind of avoid traffic on either 193rd or on Bainbridge Avenue. It delays the BX34, which is a very local bus route. It makes it very difficult for pedestrians to cross the street, so on and so on. And on top of all of this car traffic and these jams, the crosswalks are missing on the Bainbridge Avenue side. So cars are able to park where the crosswalks are meant to be, and it further limits a pedestrian's ability to safely cross the street, to be able to access the garden safely. And I bring that up with a specific person in mind and a specific community in mind. So this is kind of the current traffic flow. You'll see the green is Bainbridge Avenue heading north. The orange is 193rd Street, which is the street that I want to change from a two-way to a one-way. And then here we have 194th Street, which I think would be very beneficial in alleviating the kind of stress that 193rd Street might impose on drivers by becoming a one-way. So like I mentioned earlier, this is the BX34 bus route. It's a one-way coming off of Fordham, and there's parking on both sides. This is a very narrow two-way street with parking on both sides that often has like very dangerous U-turns and blocks a lot of traffic. And then here at this intersection, I've kind of highlighted the numerous ways cars are able to turn. So if you're coming north off of Fordham Avenue, you can go straight, you can make a right. I'm sorry, yeah, Fordham Road. So you can go straight, you can make a right onto 193rd. If you're coming off of Webster, or if you're also on Bainbridge Avenue and go right, you can go down to Webster. If you're coming off of Webster and you're headed to Bainbridge Avenue, you can turn right. And what also tends to happen because of the double parking that happens in this area, buses are often caught and a bus cannot bypass a double parked car. just because of the size and how narrow the streets can get. So what tends to happen is if a car is coming off of Webster, about to make a right onto Bainbridge, they see that they can't, they hear the horns, they hear everybody arguing because a car is blocking the bus is blocking everyone else behind it. They'll just go ahead and make a U-turn and go back down 193rd, which isn't ideal. And I can definitely understand as a driver why that would be an option that you take. You don't want to be caught up in local street traffic for more than like a second. But because of where the community garden is, which is this little green square right here, that means that we're kind of just constantly facing cars going very fast to pop that sharp turn and not get caught or not get caught up in whatever other traffic is happening, which isn't ideal. You know, we want the area immediately in front of the garden to feel safe and accessible for people. And that doesn't necessarily create that environment for them. So my proposed change is pretty simple, just kind of convert 193rd to a one-way, allowing cars to turn right off of Bainbridge down towards Webster. And that would kind of be the only flow of traffic on that street. You know, it would still allow cars to kind of make a loop if they didn't mean to get off of Fordham or they wanted to get back on, or whatever other like direction the car wants to go in. I don't drive, so this isn't, I am proposing this as a pedestrian and not as a driver.
So let me just ask you real quick. This idea, have you presented it to the community? Have you presented it to those that visit your garden or that live in that immediate area?
No.
Okay. Normally when we have presentations like this, I would have hoped that the community board office would have asked to make sure that you have a petition, right? With a list of names and people of the community, of the people that agree with what you were proposing, because you're making proposal for people that live in there, that've been living there for quite a while, and they've been putting up for a reason. Because in some cases, that's the best way to get around. May not be the most productive way, right? Because of course we're not supposed to ever double park, and no one's ever supposed to block the intersection or the crosswalk, right? So those are enforcement problems that have to be addressed, right? But the actual thought process, I mean, the presentation is beautifully put together, and we greatly appreciate that. But we would, it's like basically you move into a new neighborhood, you ask for changes, and the people that have lived there for years might not really appreciate that change. That's the only reason why we ask for stuff like petitions, where we get feedback from the community, where this is, an idea that they want to follow.
I'm from the Bronx.
No, in the neighborhood.
I'm saying,
I'm
Fordham
from the
Road, most people know Fordham Road as Fordham Road. People that live here, I've lived here 45 years. People that lived in the neighborhood for many years. But I'm just saying that you approaching us with a proposal is awesome. Like I said, it is very well put together, but a petition would always be supportive as you're supporting documentation, right? Saying, 50 people live in this building on the corner, all 50 people signed this petition. This is what they would like to see also. You know what I'm saying? Because people have lived in those buildings for many years. That's the only thing I'm asking for, or I would expect, because you're just moving into this neighborhood, right? You said you're just.
No, I'm from here.
No,
I'm just new to the garden, but I live 5 blocks from the garden.
right.
I'm sorry, and to echo what Edgar was saying, and I'm in agreement. Hi, this is Holly from the DOT. I'm sorry, Carolyn. This is a really great presentation. But he's right. If you want a DOT to look at this and study this one-way this conversion, we want support from the community on this one. So we always ask for members to go to the community board with this. But Edgar is correct in that getting like a petition together to see if this is what the community wants.
Right. Just as a FYI, because normally whenever we, because a lot of community members come to us with stop sign suggestions or just traffic study suggestions and stuff like that, and it's usually received a lot better, and the reaction is a lot better if you have a petition with, you know, a couple of other people in the neighborhood that are following that same thought process and, you know, suggesting the change that you're saying.
Okay, I can get a petition.
Mm-hmm. All right. Like I said, Caroline, the research, the information is great and it's awesome. The only thing we would need as a community board in order to try to help you with this or push this would be feedback from the community with, you know, backing your suggestion.
Okay, great.
Caroline, hi.
Yep.
Hi, this is Jahira Arias. I'm one of the board members and the secretary of the board. If you put your email to me in the chat directly to me, if you don't want to share with everybody else, I can send it over to the staff at the board, and maybe we can give you some type of template that you may want to like look over and to help you out, so that you can get the petition going, and so we can help you with getting what you want done in your area.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's plenty of people in that neighborhood that follow that train of thought and would think that was a great idea. But like I said, just because that was I know previously it used to be a requirement for us to ask for traffic studies and for changes in certain stop signs, lights, stuff like that. You know, like sometimes if we had people come asking for a stop sign because there's a school nearby and it's safer for the kids to cross, you know, they come with 200 signatures from the Parents Association, which is, you know, usually feasible. That way we know that there are a lot of people with that, you know, same support. I mean, that support that same idea.
Understood.
All right. Thank you, Caroline. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you taking the time to put the presentation together and bring it to our attention. All right. All right. I was in touch with Officer Meredith from TD11. Unfortunately, he's off on Mondays. However, if anyone has any questions for TD11, you can put it in the chat, and we'll try to get it to Officer Meredith so we can get a response for our December meeting. At this point, our December meeting looks like it'll be December 1st. We haven't concreted the location. I don't know if it's going to be at the library or if we will be able to get a location.
Edgar, sorry to interrupt, but Helene Harmon Kanowski has her hand up, and also Eric Asensio.
Okay. Who are the two? I'm sorry, Eric and who else?
Helene was first, and then
All
Eric.
right. Yep. Helene, go ahead.
Yes, hi. I did put my issue in the chat. I don't know can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, Helene, we hear you.
Okay. So basically, the number 2 bus, when the concourse bus was redesigned, I don't know whether it's an oversight, it appears to be, but the uptown side, the last stop that was on the concourse at Marshall Parkway seems to have dropped off for the 1 and the 2 bus, yet when you're going south, the same stop is still, you know, is being used. And I will call 311, but it's really been an issue for people because there's a very big distance between the 2 bus stops.
Right.
We've been getting a lot of, so now, you know, this is MTA, right? This is not a DOT, like MTA through their bus redesign, removed some stops in hopes of making the bus speeds improve bus speeds.
Yes.
It happened near my job, near the office. I went to get off at the stop and I was like, oh snap, they took a stop place. I had to go and walk 3 blocks, and I feel your pain. Some communities complain about certain spots, and MTA is putting their, some, not all, but they are reinstalling some bus stops.
Right.
I think if you go onto their website and you just Google like the MTA Bronx bus redesign, there's a contact and you could reach out and see if, that was an oversight or maybe it was intentional.
I'm hoping it was an oversight, but you're right. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Just that it's a very big distance. If not,
No,
we'll get it.
I know, we've been
This
getting
was
this.
intentional. It was shown in the final plan.
It was intentional. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot of elderly and handicapped people. So we'll have to get a petition together if need be. Okay.
Yeah, we that's one of the things that I was gonna update the board on, right? We're kind of hampering down a contact person at MTA for situations like this. Because there's a lot of stops, a lot of things that have changed and moved and the community wants to be able to voice their opinion. Some of the stuff can be done through the MTA website, but we need to also have a path that we can correctly get in touch with MTA to let them know that it's a community issue and something we need addressed. Especially if we can get it as soon as possible before they say, oh, well, it's been like that. And, that's how it's going to be. So I'm hoping that the contact that we have, because unfortunately we're a city agency, right? MTA is a state agency. Even though they provide service to the city, there's a communication issue we hope to correct. All right, Helene?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Holly.
All right, thank you.
Edgar, Eric and Daisy.
All right, Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Edgar. I didn't want to miss the chance since Holly's here. So we've been taking advantage of the new crosswalk around Moshulu Parkway and the reduced lanes.
Isn't it beautiful?
It is very nice.
Beautiful. Okay, good.
It is very nice. But
let me not. I don't want to interrupt you, Eric, but just real quick. I think Caroline. I think we've completed the conversation with your presentation. Like I said, we thank you for being helpful and being productive with the presentation that you proposed. Like I said, all we need is for you to, if you can get some names that come back to the board, and it's definitely something we can help move forward for you. Okay, Caroline. Thank you. Go ahead, Eric.
So, Holly, what's been happening is that because on the section between Bancorland and Bainbridge, the bike lanes have not been painted or anything, and they're pretty wide, right? So what's been happening is that one, MTA buses keep parking there. Two, people use this as a lane to turn into Bainbridge, right? And they use it just to like skip traffic, right? That's been formed in the new 2 lanes, right?
Okay.
So, or some of the discussion that has been happening within the neighbors here is why, if people already parking there using that is wide enough to provide parking, can we look into providing parking on one side and maybe doing the bike lane on just one side of the parkway as a double way bike lane?
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'll reach out to because I noticed when I was on there a few weeks ago, it looks like just the ends, the corners were painted green, but the entire bike lane itself was not.
Right, so a lot of
Is this
people,
from Marion to Bainbridge or something like that? Or
yes.
Right, also between Marion and Bainbridge, people are using either that or the lane that's painted with with a hatch to advance on traffic, right? Which
would you
I mean,
do me a
that's
favor,
just-
Eric? If you see like buses and stuff on there, can you just take a picture and send it to me? And do me a favor, I put my email in the chat. If you can send me an email, but I'll reach out to the project manager. The reason I want to email this way, it's easier for me just to forward it to her and have her directly respond to me.
Okay.
But yeah, your suggestion's a good suggestion. So if you could send that to me, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because that's been an issue for a while. Because I think the number is 206th Street. right, which is where the bank is, that corner, that's been a place for the buses to kind of to hold over, and it's always been overfilled with buses. So I think they realized that they have a second option, and unfortunately, that option is covering the bike lanes. So it's definitely something we should address. Appreciate
Okay,
that.
Edgar, the last two questions,
Uh-huh.
Daisy and Elizabeth Cuaranta.
Okay, Daisy, go ahead.
Hi,
I hope
everyone.
Daisy, I hope Daisy, this wasn't about Bainbridge.
No,
And-
I
okay,
wanted to
all right,
say
cool.
something that was mentioned before about about the restoration of the bus stop. So, sorry, I have two Zoom meetings going on. So I just want to say real quick that I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn this down. What we did was we started a petition to bring back the bus stops. It was a senior group I was helping. So we got almost 800 signatures. And so we had neighboring churches, we had senior centers, we had food pantries, we had like a lot of people that needed that bus stop. It serviced people that had wheelchair and they had difficulty walking.
Right.
So we needed to bring that bus stop back. It took maybe a month and a half. So we also called, I believe it was 511. We called twice a week. We had like a lot of seniors, they're retired. So they pretty much spent all day making phone calls. So we kind of flooded the system to the point where they're like, okay. So I think we had an MTA vice president call us to say, okay, we hear you. You can stop calling, flooding the phone
was
lines.
a 19 bus, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, right? Okay.
So we kind of put all our efforts in for about 4 to 5 weeks, and the bus stop came back.
That's one of the important reasons for the petitions, right? Because it kind of lets the organization or the city office know that that there are more than one person with this feeling or that suggestion that this is what should be done. And the more screaming mouths they hear, the faster they respond to it. Thank you, Daisy, for the information. Elizabeth, you have
So yeah, I just wanted to ask Eric, because Eric, if when you were talking about the buses and the bike lane on the parkway, what were you talking about, the East Mashalou Parkway south side or on the north side? I think it was on the south side that you had made, because I've seen some buses parked there, but I just want to make sure that was the
Right,
area that we're talking about.
Right, on the south side of the parkway. That's where
Okay.
buses have been parking.
Right.
And the issue with people traveling on that lane is on both sides.
Yeah, well, I have seen that once in a while. The buses I've seen there now a little bit more than we'd like to. But the bike lane is new on East Mashalou Parkway South, and that was actually a huge plus for the bikers who, because there's a greenway on the other side, there's no actual bike lane in the parkland on the south side. So now we have been seeing the bikers, and to them, that was a plus because they were biking on the same asphalt path that we were on inside the parkland. So that was one of the reasons why they wanted to put that bike lane there. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted some clarification on the bus lane and on the parking. You had mentioned to suggest parking, but we just have to be careful that, because we know that there was a lot of sessions and workshops that were done with DOT. So we also want to take those into consideration at the, for the time.
Right, I understand that what you're saying, Elizabeth, but what I'm saying is like the bike lanes that have been drawn are wide enough to provide a two-way bike lane on one side of the parkway and provide much needed parking on the other side.
Again, and now what I will do is when you send me the email, I'll follow up with the project manager to discuss that.
Yes, we'll
Yeah,
send you
absolutely.
some, we'll send you pictures of what's happening.
And that's even better. But I also, maybe during the week, I'll ride over there because I live right here and I could just take Allerton up and I've been riding up and I'll observe it myself. But yes, whatever you send me, thank you.
Okay, Holly, I appreciate you staying on because, like I said, I know there was a couple of things that were going to come up that DOT
No
had.
problem. Again, you guys have our email addresses. You know, I try really hard, Edgar. And I told you this before, and I'll say it again. CB7 is probably one of my favorite communities to work with.
Yeah, I try to prepare. I try to, if sometimes we have some community situations. I try to prepare them for you before, so that when you get here, that you come with answers.
Yeah,
you know,
no, and I appreciate it. I'm glad. I hope I was able to assist. But please follow up with emails with me. I am generally really good at getting back. Be a pain in my butt. This is what I get paid for. This is why I'm here. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. I know DOT was with NYPD, and when they addressed the situation, I believe on Webster, on Jerome Avenue, and a couple of the thoroughfares where there were tractor trailers being parked illegally. Do you guys have any way to push for another one of those I guess enforcement things that they did?
Well, we can, well, again, you know, we can, what we'll do is we can see if we can collaborate with the precinct again.
Okay.
Get the specific locations when you guys email me regarding Marshall, whatever, you send me just one big email.
Because I was surprised today. I was over on Gun Hill. You know where Gun Hill ends at Mashula Parkway? Because Gun Hill kind of wraps around you after Jerome.
Yes, West, yes.
They got tractor trailers parked there.
Oh, okay.
Right before the entrance to the sawmill.
Wow.
All the way up in the grass. I know we had one of the community board members address tractor trailer parked on the Grand Concourse by I believe it's by Marshall Parkway also. It looked like it was in the concourse towards then. Andrew, are you on? I see your hand is raised. What was the address on that tractor trailer, please, Andrew?
I actually sent an email to some of the board members with.
Right. No, that's the one I'm talking about. I saw the picture of it, but what was the address on that?
That is proceeding north on the Grand Concourse Service Road, I call it. And it is between East 203rd Street and East 204th Street.
Okay.
So it's on the Grand Concourse.
Right.
The point is, it is literally on the side of the truck itself.
Yeah.
It says the 53-foot tractor
Right.
trailer.
That's the length of those trucks.
It's forbidden to be in the 5 boroughs of New York City, let alone parked on the Grand Concourse, illegally parked, not double parked in the travel lane, but between.
No, I know. That's why I'm trying to see what DOT can do for us.
Right. So, and we've been working closely with the precincts as well, because there's been, vehicles parking in the medians and, parking illegally along the medians, on the medians. So yeah, we've been working really closely with them. So send us locations of where these trucks are parking.
Right.
And I apologize because I'm actually paying attention to CV11 right now as well as I speak to you guys.
Okay.
So send us the locations. Yeah. So Keith has been really good at working with NYPD and
because I know
because it's ugly looking. It's disrespectful and it's ugly looking.
The other thing we were looking at on the concourse is Officer Meredith, who's from TD11, right? He went to go try to do some enforcement on it because the escape hatches on on some of the medians, there's ventilation for the subway underneath, but some of those are actually escape hatches for like if there's something happens either on the tracks, so that if you're walking the the emergency exit, it allows you to access to the Grand Concourse, right? Some of those are being blocked by cars at night. People just parking on that median from Fordham Road to Mashula Parkway.
And we need NYPD to come out and
Yeah.
enforce that.
But like I said, Officer Meredith was going to try to look into it from his side, and just to give you a heads up that that's something also that we are having a situation.
All right.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Edgar, is 8 p.m.
Yeah, I know. I'm closing. I got it. Once again, thank you very much.
Good
I
night.
appreciate you, Holly, always.
Same here.
I thank the information that you bring to us. Now, as far as for the board, for the rest of the committee, for the committee, do we have any suggestions for our December meeting?
Edgar?
Yeah.
Could we put on the agenda follow-up truck parking in Community Board 7?
Okay.
Andrew?
I just want to follow up. Have we gotten any data from the city bike locations as to its use, its overuse or underuse, underutilized, be removed? If it's overused,
I've asked DOT for that, and they're still working on that. Because they need a long enough period to do comparative statistics. Unfortunately. But that's been an ask from us, from City Bike from the beginning. First, for how they picked the sites that they picked, and second, how's that worked out for them? Because that same bus stop, that same bike station I see on 195th and the Grand Concourse, because now I work there, so I'm watching it all day long, and those same 3 bikes just stay there all day long. So hopefully we can get some data, and hopefully we can get some stuff moved if it's not properly helping the community. But thank you for that, Andrew. Do we have anything else? Any suggestions? All right. All right. So I want to excuse that some of the stuff in the chat may not have been addressed directly because of the fact that I can't see. I have asked Jaira to try to bring to my attention stuff like people having their hands raised and people coming in and out of the rooms, just to make sure that we stay on point with that. Hopefully I haven't left anyone waiting in the waiting room, and hopefully everyone that has something to say has been able to get their voiced opinion. Chad, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Chad, can you do me a favor, please? Can you forward me the chat like you did the last time with that information, just so I can have it and I can try to go through it?
All right, let me see if I can do that. Got you.
I appreciate that.
Actually, you know what? Do this. Let me sign in on the computer and then I can copy because I'm on the iPad.
Okay.
I'll do that right now.
All right.
Good. No, I can do
Oh,
that
you
for you.
can? Okay,
Yeah, I
Jaira,
have
thank you.
access to it.
All right. Not only he popped that to me once, and I was like, hey, wait, this is great. I can read this now. I could enlarge everything and see everything complete.
Yeah. So Yahara, you got it?
Yes, I got it. I'll send it to him in the next 5 minutes or so.
All right.
Okay. It's just that I'm on the iPad and
That's all right. Thank you,
takes
Chad.
longer. Yeah, no problem. No worries.
You got it.
All right. So do we have anything else for the December meeting? All right. Being we don't have anything, ask for a motion to close the meeting, please.
Motion to end the meeting.
Thank you, Andrew.
Jahaira seconds the motion.
Thank you, Jahaira. All right. Hopefully we'll see what's going to happen with the December 1st meeting. It's still not 100% concrete whether it's going to be in-person meeting or it's gonna be a Zoom meeting. Hopefully we will send out that information to everyone so that everyone will be prepared. Hopefully it won't be a last minute clutch for information. I thank everyone for coming this evening. Everyone have a safe evening. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk in December.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all if we don't see each other at the general board.
Thank you. Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy.